Last time on Hakai. After Cooler put an end to Garlic Jr.'s men, who turned out to be Celestial Guardians in charge of guarding Janemba, the Frost Demons made off with the Beast Cocoon. We then joined Vados and Goku. While his training was coming along, it wasn't without struggle. He had apparently lost control of himself and destroyed a large part of the universe, causing Vados to have to do a temporal do-over. But today, he's been challenged by none other than the King of Sadala. But how will the Saiyan King fare against a literal god?
This is part 5 of Dragon Ball Hakai, full color edition. Catch up with parts 1 to 4 and the history of yours special below.
After King Krista called for a fight, it was quickly accepted by the Universe 6 Destroyer. They decided to go off to a vast desert far away from civilization. Despite the remote location of this battle, Kaba worries a fight of this scale will affect the entire planet. A worry that Vados has a solution to. Placing a barrier around the pair, this should be able to contain their power so the entire planet won't be impacted. It will also conceal their energy, as to not alert any of the inhabitants of this world. They don't want any soldiers rushing in thinking something's wrong. In short, they are now off the radar. The fighters take notice of this. Goku's happy they can do this without worries, which sounds just as great to the king. Though the question remains what Krista was thinking when deciding to challenge Goku. The angel chimes that this must be part of Saiyan nature, simply wanting to fight powerful warriors. She then questions if this King Krista is powerful. Kaba explains that he's probably the strongest Saiyan to ever exist in this universe. Many years ago, a very powerful army invaded Sadala. They were so relentless, not even their entire armies could stand up to them. It was a massacre. An absurdly powerful child stood alone between the enemy and the kingdom. He was able to rid this planet of their foe. Naturally, that child was Krista. Even Vados thinks this is pretty impressive. Krista became the great hero of Sadala, and as time passed, he got even more popular until he became king, even though he wasn't a noble, which is something that's never happened before. Since then, Sadala went from a mediocre planet sprawling with barbarians to what it is today. He's probably the best thing to ever happen to the Saiyan race. The angel, however, has to point something out. She's already well aware that Sadala progressed over centuries, and surely Saiyans don't live so long. Kaba has a reason for this as well. Many years ago, in his desire to protect Sadala forever, he found out about the Dragon Balls and went to Namek to use them. There, he asked the dragon to make him immortal. Since then, he's been ruling and protecting this planet for about 1,000 years now. Making this whole thing all the more interesting. Here we have a Saiyan who is already immensely powerful from birth, and let him train for a millennia. He must be quite the distinguished warrior. While this may be true, since Goku's now a god of destruction, he's not sure even the king will be able to measure up to his power. He'll likely be defeated. However, this isn't the entire truth. Goku is still pretty far from bearing the power of a dominating god of destruction. Until he masters his powers, he won't be able to use much without the risk of losing control. In all reality, he'll actually be heavily handicapped in this fight. Krista may have a chance. As the battle begins, Kaba can hardly keep up, and the forces behind their blows are so impressive, he can feel them vibrate through his bones. But in a shocking turn of events, Goku is actually on the defensive. The king is a lot stronger than he thought it'd be. At this point, Goku would put him around a Super Saiyan 3, probably even more. Even though he was sure he teleported to his blind spot and hit his key, Goku's bewildered how he managed to notice him. this, I'll end everything! Hakai! Although Goku was able to disperse the oncoming blast with the Hakai, it looks like Krista had another trick up his sleeve. Kappa has never before seen him use so much power in a single attack. If Goku was hit by that, he must have been. Vados quells, there's no need to worry. A statement that is soon shown to be true. Donning Ultra Instinct. Krista doesn't recognize this transformation as a Saiyan form. This prompts Goku to explain what it's called, detailing it's a special skill from the angels that not even gods of destructions have completely grasped. The king thinks he remembers Kappa saying something about this form. Goku used it when he fought in the Tournament of Power. So let me see the power of this Ultra Instinct! Kappa inquires if it's wise for Goku to be going this far. When he was in this form in the tournament, his body suffered a lot. Isn't it risky? But when he used it that time, he was still immortal. Since this is an advanced divine technique, it took his body to its limits. But now that he's been endowed with divinity and has an immortal body, that won't be a problem anymore. Though there's still another issue. If he overdoes it and ends up releasing too much power, he might lose control, and that would be a problem. For now, he's still using it safely, even to a lesser extent than he used against Jiren. But the line is starting to get really thin. Goku himself knows not to be reckless. Right now, he's at the exact limit he can use. If he raises his ki anymore, he might lose control and Miss Vados will have to intervene. Which to him would also mean he loses this fight, and he wants to win. As Ultra Instinct, even a watered-down version, is eons past his base form. Krista finds himself overwhelmed by this altercation. It's not only his defense that's increased, but his attacks are incredibly more stronger too. Goku apologizes, but he has to end this now. It can't be! Huh? What was? As Goku is about to deliver the finishing blow, Krista is able to not only avoid it, but counter. Vados notes that last punch that the king used was way more powerful than anything he'd put out this entire fight. For our hero, it's not only that he doesn't know how Krista dodged his attack, but he was also sure that he himself should have been able to dodge his counter. Speaking of which, what's this energy? Is he transforming? While his physical appearance hasn't changed much, something inside of him is definitely different. The angel again chimes in to suggest that perhaps it should be expected that a Saiyan warrior who's been around for a millennia would naturally have some sort of hidden power. The Destroyer recognizes this energy. It's the same as when Broly came to Earth and wreaked havoc. If Krista has the same level of self-control as he, things might get serious. Get ready, Son Goku! Our hero only stares on in amazement before Kappa screams that he needs to get out of there. Hanging on for dear life, this is going too far for a friendly fight. Then again, one could theorize Saiyans treat every fight the same. Wondering who won. Krista seems to be the only one left standing. Upon looking for Goku, Vados lets out a sigh of disappointment to see that it's gotten to this point. But what does she mean by that? Spotting our hero in the air. His eyes are now darkened as a sinister energy envelops him. A terrified Kappa cries out to know what's going on. His aura has changed so much. He's never felt anything so terrifying in his entire life. Goku cackles out that he's going to destroy everything. With a tap of the finger, a confused Goku questions what's he doing up here. His mentor informs him that she's afraid. Right as Mr. Cristo is about to hit him, Goku raised his ki to elevate his instinct and dodge the blow, but ended up losing control momentarily, since he was already at his limit. which means he lost? At least according to his own rules. Letting out a sigh of his own, the king seems to be happy it's over. However, the angel thinks in truth, at the level Goku was, he could have escaped Krista's attack since it was pretty obvious to evade. Goku must have seen or felt something the rest of them did not, and that made him hesitate. He then raised his power to dodge it. That's when he lost control. This Saiyan King seems to be pretty special after all. But with the fight settled, Vados offers to fix their clothing and heal their wounds. A few minutes later, the gang returned to the castle. Goku thanks Krista for the fight. It was really fun, and it's good to know there's someone this powerful in this universe. But he would like it if he didn't hide his full power next time. A bit surprised he even noticed. He knows he wasn't the only one holding back. He could tell Goku too is far from using the entirety of his strength. Unfortunately, until the Destroyer masters his new powers, he'll have to limit his energy use quite a lot, though he hopes they can fight again without these limitations one day. There is still one thing he doesn't quite understand, however. Why didn't he participate in the Tournament of Power if he's this strong? Things could have been very different for the 6th universe if he were there. The simple truth is that a long time ago, he promised he would stay on Sadala to protect it and its people. He doesn't want to ever leave this planet. Which, despite the irony given the stakes, Goku has to admire his commitment. He then turns to Kappa and asks if he can take him to see Kale and Caulifla now, who shouts that he just told him not to mention their names here. Oh, Frida, my bad. The king assures Kappa there's no need to worry about it. Goku is a god of destruction and has no interest in their internal conflicts. He doesn't mind if he visits those two while he's here, instructing Kappa to escort the destroyer, but most of all, be careful. The king informs he must now return to his duties and hopes to see Goku again. And if possible, knock some sense into Kale for him and convince her to come back home. Daughters can be such a pain sometimes. But this guy is Kale's father? Which now makes even more sense why Krista wouldn't want to hear their names being mentioned. Not long later, flying over the Outlands, Goku has to ask why the villages out here seem so poor compared to the city. There, they have huge monuments and castles. And lately, some regions of this planet have been going through difficult times because of crime and stuff like that. This particular area is part of rebel territory, so they've suffered a lot because of the war. This means the planet's at war? Unfortunately, it is. There's a great revolutionary force that wants to remove King Krista from power. This force is led by Caulifla. News which somehow surprises our hero. He has to understand that's why the mention of her or Kale's name is a bit taboo. Hearing either said aloud causes many in the kingdom to feel resentment. The king's daughter being the rebel leader's right-hand man doesn't help things either. Kale, like many others, disagreed with the king's rule and decided to rebel against him. Although he is a great hero devoted to the planet, many have forgotten his heroic acts with the passage of time. Since many generations have gone by, he himself doesn't care to remember his own feats as to not let the fame influence his actions. He also doesn't want to accidentally lure somebody here seeking a fight. That would put his people in danger. Because of this, a lot of people think their king is a dictator undeserving of his throne, and they're tired of it. Caulifla currently leads that charge. In the beginning, they were just criminal groups that dominated small regions. But in recent times, these rebels have gained funding from a tycoon of sorts who likes to take advantage of wars. Since this, the revolutionary forces have grown a lot and are giving the imperial forces quite a fight. Reaching their destination, Kappa points Goku to a castle in the distance. That is the building which serves as the rebellion headquarters. Caulifla will probably be in there, but he himself has already gotten too close and is taking a big risk. If he were to approach any further, there would likely be trouble. But Goku has no issue with him and Vados taking it from here. Entering, a man alerts Caulifla that there's a man and a woman wanting to see her. With a mouthful, she mumbles out to know who they are. But he kind of forgot their names already. The man was wearing a funny-looking necklace and the woman had a halo on her neck, like a angel or something. And this idiot! It must be Champa and Vados. That was really stupid to make him wait like this. Go let him in already. Stuttering, the man promises to get right on it. She can't help but wonder what Champa wants. Maybe he's gonna ask them to fight again for another tournament or something. She'll have to decline though because she already has her hands full. Or maybe they could fight, but ask for a favor in return, asking Kale what she thinks. Which sounds just fine to her. Caulifla's so smart. Who feels the same? She really is, huh? She also bets Champa's gonna be shocked to see her in this throne. Of course, it's not Champa who enters. Goku took a few minutes to explain everything to the girls, at least to the best of his ability. And Champa did seem like a negligent god, so this kind of makes sense. But she wants to get right down to business. This old man still owes her a rematch. Our hero actually thought she'd be a little afraid now, given he's a god of destruction and all. She seems more excited than ever. She exclaims that she's not gonna miss the chance of fighting a god of destruction Saiyan. She's sure she'll get stronger if she fights against him, just like last time. Goku says he's sorry, but he's still working on controlling his powers, so it's a bit dangerous to spar right now. He might end up killing her. She's fragile. She can't even go Super Saiyan 3. And if that's how he wants it, she can make things more interesting. Ushering for Kale to come over. Caulifla tells her she wants to do the thing. But what could they be up to? But this is Using the fusion dance, the result feels incredibly powerful. The fusion of Caulifla and Kale. Kali. But when did they learn the Moran dance? She explains that after the Tournament of Power, Kale and Caulifla were ecstatic with Kefla's power. They went to Kaioshin Fua to ask for his earrings so they can fuse whenever they wanted. Alas, he refused. He told them that the earrings were divine artifacts, and mortals shouldn't be using them so leisurely. However, they would persist and even threaten the Kaio a little bit. He eventually relented and enlightened them to an alternative. The Metamoran fusion dance, of course. The girls went to Planet Metamor and learned how to do it, giving life to Kali. Seems like Universe 6 is just full of surprises. Back home, the Metamorans have long gone extinct. But regarding this fight, what was it that Goku said he wanted? A Super Saiyan 3? Well then take this! But this is no ordinary Super Saiyan 3. Her hair is green, just like in Kale's unique transformation. Their power has boosted a lot more than it should have using this form. Kali cackles at if her foe sees now. This is what awaits him. However, the king seems to take notice back in his kingdom. Though the fused warrior wants to know if Mr. God of Destruction here is ready to face the strongest fighter in this universe. And he's ready to go. This'll be awesome. Though Vados has other plans. She explains that Mr. Goku has already gone past his limit once today. If he wants to fight her, it'll have to be another time. Otherwise, it could get far too dangerous. She plans on taking him elsewhere to rest, but they're welcome to speak to him on this matter again at a later time. Of course, even Kali knows there's nothing she can do about this. Streaming through the universe. The angel notes that, scares aside. She's glad that Goku came to this planet first. She's sure it's made him a lot more excited to be the god of this universe, simply from meeting all the powerful fighters there. Besides, he also found out how limited his control over his god powers are. He will surely train harder to get better at it. Today was a good day. As our hero continues his journey, how much longer will it take before he's able to master his destroyer powers? And what about that form which overtook him when he lost control? Will it be a mere speed bump in his eternal journey? Or something much more foreshadowing?